Good morning and warm welcome to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios here in downtown Colombo. Joining me on this rather wet morning here is Bandula Jayasekara. Very good morning to you.
Good morning for us.
Senior journalist and diplomat.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, where's that big file you had yesterday?
Oops. Well, you know, we have files on everyone and everything. But no, yesterday's file has now created the necessary debate, and perhaps we can address those issues and move forward, which is what
I hope we have more and more files with more information and more secrets.
Watch this space. We've got more files. Vandula, there's a story doing its rounds that nothing can be done over crossovers after the polls. Why is that? Why can't anything be done about crossovers? How do you control these crossovers?
So that's the thing for us. I think most of these people, I mean, I wouldn't say people, I would say the politicians, they do it for money. It's not a secret like we discussed yesterday. So there has to be some mechanism to control these people, but control an uncontrollable crowd.
But the vote, the way you vote, central to that theme is the fact that the democracy dictates that you are able to vote with your conscience. So your conscience is central is actually sacrosanct, isn't it? So you can't put any impediments in the way of voting with your conscience.
No, but here, I think, to my knowledge, in Sri Lanka, it's only, okay, he didn't cross over. Mr. Gamay Jayasuriya, as you remember, during the Lanka Accord, he resigned. But we have no member of parliament or minister resigning, but they have crossed over for their personal gains. It's very difficult to prove it, but we all know where they go, where the money is.
I think it's called received wisdom.
Received
wisdom. Joining us this morning is Mr. Rusaripala Tenakon, former chairman of the Bank of Ceylon and the president of the State Bank Pensioners Association. Very good morning to you, Mr. Rusaripala.
Good morning, Faraz.
And we're delighted to have you. Thank you for joining us. Perhaps you can join in this debate about the conscience vote. What can be done to stop crossovers?
Well, what has to be done has been very carefully handled by all sides in the last parliament. They had the greatest opportunity to look into this aspect and take some decisive action or some meaningful steps, but they have not done so. But with crossovers, I should say, over the history we have seen many crossovers in the parliament, like say late Mr. Bandaranaike crossing over from this side to the other side of the floor. If not for that, there would have been a birth of a new party. So crossovers are sometimes important and useful, but how best it is used in the national interest and in the interest of the public is what is important. Today it has become, unfortunately, share market forum.
Another trading ground.
Another trading floor.
Why can't we have the liberty to vote with your conscience, disregarding everything else, and it's your conscience, but people who cross over or vote from one side with the other side on the grounds of conscience should not accept any portfolios if they have supported the government, for example.
Yeah, so but what the government or the people in power they do is, that's why they offer portfolios. That is why they cross over. I mean, for deputy ministership or some contract. I'm sure we have heard about it. Even so, that is why. Otherwise, why should they? Do these people, I don't think the poor voters believe in themselves, but I don't think they believe in themselves.
I think perhaps you ought to vote for somebody who is committed to addressing this issue of crossovers. Yes, you can cross over because it's your conscience.
But for us, how do we know? We vote.
You know because when you voted on a particular issue against your party, because you believe in it, it's your conscience. You're exercising that the liberty of using your conscience. Having done that, you then don't accept any other perks. You remain on the backbenches, if you like.
But have we heard of anybody?
Well, I don't know, but do you remember during the war, when Mr. Rajapaksa became the president, he had a very small majority, and a number of people from the UNP crossed over, and they all said that they were supporting his effort in eradicating terrorism. Well, on the 16th of May 2009, that finished. I really want to know how many people then resigned and said, right, we've done our job, let's get on. Did anyone do that?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. I think Mr. Jayasuriya moved away, but I don't know. I'm not.
That's what I think Karu Jayasuriya said, and that he went back to his. But that's what he said.
Right.
But he was a powerful minister,
of course,
at the time.
Let's move on. Something a little bit more current. The car that was used in the drive-by shooting where Minister Karan Naik was addressing a pocket meeting has been found. Isn't that good news? Our police are actually doing a good job, aren't they?
Yeah, in fact it's very good. They found the car, they found that they nabbed that people with the white van, so police are doing a good job.
It is actually. I think that we must commend them. They're acting very independently, and
but for us that's their job, irrespective of whoever who comes to power. The police should be independent. We cannot deny that there have been wonderful police, good police officers.
Yeah.
We have to give them their respect, but you've got to stand up when you join.
We must appreciate and uphold their efforts and say, here we go, this is good governance, they're doing their job.
Yeah, let them do their job.
Let them do their job. It's a pity that this matter of Wasim Tajuddin, the young Ruggerite who unfortunately lost his life, and we have information now that the police are seeking the advice of the in-house lawyer, also known as the Attorney General of this country, on his thoughts on, unfortunately, exhuming his body, which must trouble his family no end. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, that's why now we say rest in peace, because we want because when we are alive we have no peace. Why we say rest in peace is we get peace only when we die. But you don't allow these things to happen. And also coming back, you were talking about this yesterday also, in-house lawyer.
Yes.
And that the governor of the central bank has criticized him. I think we were discussing. So you cannot now, here you get advice from the in-house lawyer or the attorney general, and then another official criticizes the in-house lawyer, attorney general. We cannot do that.
We will have to presume that this was his personal opinion. And
but can we, when you are I'm sure Mr. Rusutapal will enlighten us as a very senior public servant, but can you criticize, like we say the cabinet also have a collective responsibility. There is a collective responsibility. Can you criticize?
Well, there is a limit to do that. We just can't keep on criticizing, because that collective responsibility is an important factor in anything. And taking the Attorney General's role, you see, his views have to be respected.
You served as a diplomat. When you were out there in these different exotic places that you...
Not exotic.
Okay. In these cool climes of wherever you were, Canada I think, did you criticize the Canadians there?
No, you can't criticize, because they're the host government, host country.
Yes, no, that's the point I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Mahendran is a foreigner. He's in our country as a foreigner. And he's then criticizing the in-house lawyer, the Attorney General. I think it's poor form.
Yeah, but it's, can we still call him a foreigner? He was born here.
Well, he's of Sri Lankan origin, but his allegiance is to the state of Singapore.
Yeah, but the previous government also had people, you know.
Two wrongs don't make a right. I'm sure Trinity taught you that.
You're right.
There's another matter here. The issue of pensions to the state banks pensioners. There's this issue that some of these pensions are stuck in 1996 rates, and there's no semblance of reality in 2015 because they're being paid at 1996 rates. And this has been a cause that you're very much involved in, aren't you, Mr. Sripala?
Yes, of course. The pensions in the state sector banks have to be looked into in the current context of the government's thinking about this entire affair. I remember that in the last budget, that is Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa's budget, last budget, it is they who suggested that the pensions of the government pensioners should be brought to the current situation levels by equalizing them to the current salaries. So this is the principle that the present government, not the caretaker government, the government before, wanted to implement more or less in the same way. And there was a circular recently introduced by the Public Administration Department stating that they are going to adjust the pensions of the public service by basing the salary revision that the government gave to the public servants in 2006. So that's a good thing, because there is a big disparity, disproportionately growing over the periods, which has to be settled at some point. Like you rightly said, if they go to continue with the pensions which are based on the age-old salaries like in the 1990s, they become really useless and not applicable to the current day. So therefore this decision of the government to equalize the, to sort of readjust the pensions, basing the salaries at least at the 2006 level. But I think that's a step going back from what Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa's government wanted to do. They wanted to adjust the salaries to the 2015 status.
I see.
Now they are going to step back and said that adjust it to the 2006 salaries. But even that is okay if that is done.
But what troubles me is a slightly wider issue. This country is overall a rather God-fearing country, and we believe in these principles of Buddhism and all the religions. And it's troubling that after years and years of service in the state and serving the country and its people in the banking sector, that these people are being shortchanged. That they, having served their country, and there's a saying that you must reward somebody before the sweat on his back is dried off.
But for us, I mean, you say that we are a God-fearing country. I think must be the ordinary people, you and I. But do you think the politicians are God-fearing?
Well, I think they are.
That is because they don't fear. That's what these things happen, Mr. Rushipalan.
Exactly. But at this moment, they're fearing. All you have to do, Wandula, is to look at all these fellows. They've got many of these rulers, yeah? And so they must be God-fearing. They've got to, right?
Yes, I'm going back to what Abdullah said. I think it's very, very relevant, because the revision of pensions is something more ethical and more moral than this God-fearing aspect. Because if you trace the history of the pensions, somebody like the late Mr. Thalgode Pittiya, who formulated the pension scheme to this country at a time when there was no public service pension scheme even to the bankers. There he pronounced the importance of a pension scheme, that it is to sustain the life, the balanced life period of a person who has committed this entire period to public service or some service, to maintain a standard of living that he is expected to maintain, keeping with his former status.
Yes.
That is the basis. So the pensions, unless they are revised and adjusted periodically, that aspect will not be fulfilled.
Let's see how politically significant this can be. How many members?
Well, in the banking sector, alone, taking the 3 state sector banks, we have about 12,000 to 15,000. I mean that range of pensioners, and in the People's Bank alone, we have 7,000.
Right. So it's not insignificant. There's a vast number of people.
Exactly. No, you take not only the 7,000, their families, their associates, their social status, where they are living, what they are doing in the society, all that matters. And all those people who are interacting in some way are definitely concerned about it.
Why are they doing this?
Well, in some banks, in the People's Bank, I don't know, I should say this, that what we are facing is they are simply refusing to open up a discussion even on this aspect. I think they are fearing the opening of a worm of cans, I don't know.
So there is
can of worms.
Good governance.
Talking of good governance, and going back to the issue which we spoke of earlier, about the in-house lawyer, that means the Attorney General of this country. He's the in-house lawyer, okay? Every state institution, ministry, they rely on the Attorney General for the legal aspect of any contract and so on. Yesterday's story about the highways, the Attorney General, we're told, had given his advice, his opinion, as the in-house lawyer, that letters of cancellation should have been sent out to the contractors involved in this project because the MOU had lapsed, or the agreement MOU had lapsed, and therefore there was no legal status. And unfortunately, we have the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka who has in essence ignored that advice and gone on a solo, what appears to me, this is my personal opinion, on a solo adventure.
No, you cannot, I mean, they should have the adventures together. I mean, when you say together, with the people.
Yes,
not you cannot have solo adventures.
Why is it that these laws are being, these rules, it is the Prime Minister himself who on the 30th of March has said, advised his colleagues in Cabinet that we must adhere to national tender procurement guidelines of 1998, and that these unsolicited bids should not be entertained as a matter of policy.
And also for us, can you remember, I'm sure Mr. Rusita will remember that the previous government, there was a big uproar when President Mahinda Rajapaksa tried to take control of the Attorney Generals. Remember, there was a big issue that was coming to, I can't remember exactly, there was this issue. So that should be independent, Attorney General's department. Yeah. So that's an independent body. So politician can say we take the advice or we don't, but I think he would give proper advice. So the politician should take it.
Well,
because he has no other agenda.
Yeah. Yes, he has his agenda is to ensure that the laws and the procedures are followed, and he's acting on behalf, in the best interest of the people of this country.
Yeah, that's true.
That is.
In instances like this, it's much more important for the authorities to adhere to, regard them, rather than disregarding them in a bit of what it appears to be a bit callous, in the public eye. It should be observed in that sense that regard must be there. And particularly in instances of this nature where the involvements are very big, the issue is very large because of the amounts involved, huge. There should be some transparency. How is transparency ensured? It's only by observing the rule of law.
Yes, don't you think lately the politicians have begun to crush the public service and the good public servants? Because you are a very senior public servant. They have completely disregarded and crushing them.
I think this responded, the word you were looking for in this, when you were explaining this, is the most appropriate word that's come to my ear, is intriguing. Because the actions of the Prime Minister and his people around him appears to be intriguing.
Most certainly it is intriguing.
You know, the Prime Minister speaks of good governance. And his party, he was part of the cabal that believed in the need for good governance. And the central theme of that regime change that they achieved was the roads, the money being spent on the roads, because there were roads everywhere. And so they said, well, that's where the corruption is. And the roads actually is one specific matter that has been referred to in their policies. And they say that, they suggest that 90% of this particular company's work was given out in commissions. And yet, and here's the bit that I find most troubling indeed, and yet they were the same company with a contract worth 157 billion euro rupees over a weekend. They refer to something that they say the cabinet had already approved it. On the 20th of July they write this letter, but the cabinet didn't meet until the 21st of July. So it's troubling. To me, it's almost
mysterious,
intriguing. To me, it sounds that there is the impunity which these politicians in this government are carrying on is being done with gay abandon to the rules and the procedures.
Yeah, because I still have to say that it was President Maithripala to say, no, okay, they helped him come to power and to be the president, but then the president had given a free hand to the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So that's where they have to exercise and follow the rule of law.
True. Well, following the rule of law apart, there is another concern. The criticism that the people who were then in opposition leveled against the highways, it becomes more intriguing why they are giving so much of priority to this now. In the order of priority, is it so important? Or is this the order? Is this the proper place for our highways? Why are they contradicting themselves?
So, these politicians can change the order of priority.
Exactly. That's what is happening. That's what's happening.
I wonder if you noticed, but I noticed this thing. The Prime Minister was present at the opening of this Central Expressway.
Not the President.
There you go.
I know
that is what. Did you see it on some other channel?
No, I saw this. I observed it very carefully.
Of course, we hope you're not watching any other channel, but this channel.
But it was announced yesterday in the media that it will be the President and the Prime Minister will be at the opening. But it was not to be.
I wonder if there's a message there from the President.
These days there are very, very silent messages sent, the President is bound to send those messages out to the society in the context he is. Like, that he passingly made a reference about the COPE report and the central bank thing. He never said that he ordered anybody to do anything, but he passingly said the most appropriate thing, and that the thing that the country expected. I requested the Prime Minister to ask this person to resign. See how beautifully he has put it across.
Is he practicing diplomacy or subtle diplomacy, or what?
I think both, because this is the time that he has to, in his position, practice the diplomacy to the highest degree. Just imagine where he is and with whom.
But or again, is he giving, like by this story, is he giving a strong message to the masses?
Of course,
and to the politicians.
Of course, I think so. Increasingly,
the President reminds me of the British Queen, who technically has all the powers, but she merely advises her Prime Minister. It goes
even a little beyond. Here in this case, he's refraining from exercising his authority. So he's not precluded from taking some
not at all.
But I'm sure the time will come for him to take the necessary action.
He's very carefully choosing what to do and what not to do in the present context.
Good. I think they called a former cricket captain, Captain Cool. I think that title is going somewhere else now.
Yeah, looks like Arjuna is losing that too.
I must remind our viewers that Newsline, by popular request, is changing its timings. From Monday to Thursday, we should be broadcasting live from 8:30 in the evening till 9 o'clock. And we have an extra morning show on Monday at the usual time. What says you? The election's going along fine?
Yeah, I mean, few more days. I think it's hotting up. You know, you could see how much they are fighting for preferential votes. I think it's more than dog fights. I mean, the same party, you know. So they're really. These are bitter fights to serve us, serve you and I.
But that also gives us the opportunity to see how many people are outspoken. To take this Blue Mandel incident, you see one candidate saying that, well, this is not so, one candidate saying this is something else. So that's a very interesting story.
Right. Well, I think in the ambience of elections and hoping that you will vote with having thought about it properly, thinking about commitment to you and to our country, and perhaps the March the 12th Declaration and so on, let me leave you with this thought that has arrived to me. A statesman is he who thinks about the future generations, and a politician is he who thinks about the upcoming elections. Thank you very much for being with us. Have a good morning and God bless.
Thank you.